Okay, this is video number 4 on just. God is just. He needs to be just. He needs to be righteous. He needs to show you that. He will show you that in intellectual, written, non-written, spiritual, hidden ways. His character, vibe of being just. Here's some semi-quotes about being just. There are so many good quotes. Some people said, well, why does God allow evil? Why doesn't he just wipe out all the evil and make a better place? But another person said, that means you'd be wiped out too. And I say, when I go into prison sometimes, I said, God thinks all of us should deserve to be in prison, his prison, because we all have fallen short of the glory of God. That means we're not God. When you realize you're not God, you kind of get a little more humble. You're not as powerful. You don't live forever by your power, but by his power you will. And then you're not as smart. You're not as powerful. You're not as intellectual. He says his thoughts are not your thoughts. His ways are higher than your ways. It's absolutely true. That's why we can't figure out life easily. There's a higher purpose, and it's related to his character. That's the motive behind it all. There's another thing about Jesus. You loved righteousness and hated wickedness, hated lawlessness. Jesus isn't into breaking the laws necessarily. Therefore, God has exalted you anointed you with the oil of gladness above your brethren. If you love what's right, God's going to give you great joy at some point. He gave Jesus great joy. Jesus despised the cross. It was despicable to him, humiliating, but God, since he was so correct and so right and so loving what's right and willing to die for what's right, God anointed him with the oil of gladness, joy, and happiness above his brethren. Jesus is a very, very happy person because his Father helped him receive that. It's a character trait. Joy is a good character trait. Happiness is what the word blessed means. And in some translations it says, happy is he who does this. Happy is it means blessed. Sometimes it's translated blessed. So are you really blessed? If you're unhappy, you're not blessed. That's one way to look at it. It's one aspect. But there's other quotes about righteousness, and I want to have another video on it because I can't remember them all. There are so many from the ancient people, even before the gospel, that have great quotes on righteousness. And let me see if I can think of another thought here. There's a phrase out there that seems pretty wise from an older person, maybe from another age, another century, another millennia. It's not who is right that's important, it's what is right. And you think about it, hey, that's right. That sounds right. It's not who is right that's important, it's what is right. But I say, it's not who is wrong that's important, it's what is wrong. No, that doesn't make sense. There has to be a consequence, accountability, and justice. Being righteous and just means there's a consequence, either a good consequence or a bad one. A murderer, it isn't just murder that's wrong. The murderer is wrong. It's way more important. That person who murdered is way more important than murder. Murder is a concept. But a murderer did something bad. It's bad character. He needs to have a consequence. So the phrase that's out there that sounds true and right, because it's talking about what's right, and it seems right, until you think more critically about it, more carefully, more thoroughly, more righteously, be a better judge. If you're a good judge, you know there's a problem with that quote, wise saying, end quote. You know there's a fundamental flaw in it. It's not he who is right that's important. It's what is right. No, Jesus was it right. Therefore, he loved what's right, so God anointed him with joy, gave him great joy. So there was a good consequence. Good behavior is to be rewarded. If you're not aware of it, I have a video on leadership. The purpose of leadership, the main purpose is to reward people who do well and hold accountable people that don't. You see that from Cain and Abel all the way through with God. And he calls governments to do that. In the New Testament, that's their calling. The government's in the New Testament. What's their purpose? To be a good judge, to be just, to distinguish between right and wrong, and praise and reward those and commend those that do right, that have good character, that have good nature, and punish and hold accountable and be just and bring justice to those that don't. Okay? So I don't believe American social justice people, workers or whatever, They don't understand justice because they have a different worldview. Their worldview is, I'm angry, I'm agitated, I hate my government, I hate my people, I'm going to change this world. They just want to change something. I just feel like something needs to change, you know? And they get violent, and they have bad fruit, man. You can tell a tree by its fruit. You can't eat from that kind of tree because they're unjust, they're unrighteous. And so, these are some of the quotes that are out there, but I want to have another video chat on other quotes that really help us understand how important to be truthful is, accurate. For example, what's the difference between truth and opinion? If you don't know, you're not a just person. I think that's the next video, the difference between truth and opinion. You cannot be a just person unless you know the difference between truth and opinion. What is it?